Tonight, the State Treasurer launches a scathing attack on Nick Xenophon's candidate for the seat of Giles. And Mid-North residents rejoice as plans are announced to revitalise Bundela Forest.
This is Southern Cross News with Fraser Goldsworthy.
Good evening. The State's Treasurer has launched a scathing attack on the SA Best candidate in Giles. Tom Koutsantonis says Tom Antonio is not fit to be a Member of Parliament, saying a vote for him would threaten investment opportunities in the state.
With Giles up in the air, Labor is deploying their heavy guns in a bid to hold the seat. Treasurer Tom Koutsantonis didn't hold back when discussing SA Best candidate Tom Antonio in Whyalla today.
His conduct's appalling. I think, quite frankly, he's unfit to represent the people of Whyalla.
The Treasurer says the government was forced to freeze him out from the steelworks sale negotiations.
We had to exclude, was unable to cooperate, and quite frankly was more interested in his own career.
Surprisingly, Eddie Hughes was nowhere to be seen as Mr Koutsantonis launched his attack. Mr Hughes was in town though, squaring off with the SA Best candidate on local radio this morning.
Why are you making this attack? Why isn't Eddie Hughes making the attack here?
Well, because I was the one involved in the negotiations.
The Treasurer claims a local businessman and former acting mayor's behaviour almost lost the city a $30 million solar farm. A letter obtained by Southern Cross News to the council from the firm behind the facility states it would have gone elsewhere.
Well, this might have been in Port Pirie or somewhere else rather than Whyalla, simply because of the way Mr Antonio conducted himself.
It's fast becoming a bitter campaign in the seat of Giles. Social media is alive with supporters of both sides, engaging in bitter and personal attacks. This attack could also compromise Labor's attempts to negotiate with SA Best in a hung parliament.
Antonio is a former Liberal, he's not supporting a Labor government.
In a statement, Mr Antonio denied the allegations, saying he's never seen the letter and he was commended for his role in the steelworks saga. John Hunt, Southern Cross News.
After 3.5 years of ongoing protests, the Bundela picnic ground has been saved. It'll remain open to the public with plans to revitalise the facility and build a new event centre and playground.
The days of teddy bear picnics and exploring the Bundela Forest are here to stay.
I like the picnics and I like the bear hunts.
We are so excited. It's just such a precious place for us to be able to come and bring our children.
The Bundela Forest has been enjoyed by locals for over 140 years, but the community has been facing the very real threat of losing the recreation area to private owners. But now
the government at this point have committed that they will retain the responsibility and management of maintenance and liability insurance for the area.
Picnic blankets will continue to be spread and children's footsteps will forever be planted at the grounds, thanks to a $100,000 grant from Forestry SA. The money will be put towards building a new community and events centre, which will overlook the picturesque 22-hectare site.
A kitchen and toilets, a seating area for 70 people, but also a very large outdoor deck area which will make it ideal for weddings, parties.
Local schools will also have the opportunity to use the state-of-the-arts events centre too.
So a bit of a nucleus for schools to use as a learning centre to bring children out to the forest and use that as an educational tool.
Bundela Forest is set to be revitalised in the coming years, with new picnic facilities and a nature play playground set to be built just south of Maple Walk. Locals are encouraged to come celebrate this momentous occasion with a free community event later this month.
It signifies the start of a new era for this beautiful area that we have probably taken for granted for so long.
Rachel Nell, Southern Cross News.
The state government claims the world's largest solar and wind-powered hydrogen plant will be built in Crystal Brook. Neoen has been awarded $1 million from the Renewable Technology Fund to be put towards the new facility. The proposed super hub will have 150 megawatts of solar capability as well as 250 megawatts of wind power while producing 20,000 kilos of hydrogen every day. It'll create 260 construction jobs and 40 ongoing positions. A restructuring of China's steel industry is expected to translate into positivity for Broken Hill. Carpinteria Resources continues to push ahead with its major iron ore project south of the city, aiming to be in production by 2020. China is focusing on steelmakers using higher quality ore to reduce pollution in its skies. Carpinteria says this means the Asian market will have an increased interest in its super-grade product. After the break, a group of UniSA students begin their health placements in Port Pirie. That's next. Councils across the far west of New South Wales are joining forces to build a stronger region. The initiative will allow councillors to swap ideas and resources to ensure the far west can be at its best for all residents.
A united body with the far west at heart.
This will be aligning councils of similar interests together so they can talk about state issues.
This isn't the first time the state government has tried to bring together local councils in the west. The Far West initiative launched in 2014 but failed to gain traction. So now it's hoped regional joint organisations will bring the Far West together.
We also want to have federal issues at the table, and we want to see some coordination around the state NGOs, the non-government organisations.
Once the group is set up, Broken Hill City Council will join
with Wentworth Council, Balranald Council, Central Darling Council, and if there was interest with Burke and Brewarrina. So that sort of far west iconic cities.
The Far West organisation will be made up of the council's mayors and general managers, with meetings likely to be held through teleconferencing.
Each council has to make a financial contribution. We've actually said we want $500,000 recurrent funding from the government to make sure that we can progress it.
The mayor says the strengthening ties between regional local governments could help Broken Hill City Council financially.
Is there one council that specialises in one field that may be able to pick up the contracts in others and then grow our workforce? That's the opportunities we want to look at for Broken Hill and for the Far West.
Patrick Reinke, Southern Cross News.
Port Pirie has welcomed 6 health students to the region as part of a university placement program. The group will spend 10 weeks to understand health barriers regional communities face.
Improving the health and well-being of the region while gaining vital skills. 6 UniSA students are currently undertaking a rural placement in Port Pirie.
All health science students are required to do so many hours of placement in order to complete their degree, and it's part of their curriculum.
So it gave us the opportunity to really get amongst the community, get everyone involved and have a lasting effect.
From nursing students to occupational therapists and social work students, they'll all be exposed to the barriers rural health workers face every day.
You get to see a broad range of health conditions, the entire spectrum of people from birth to death, really, that they get to look after. They're not just put into one little box. They get a wide range of experiences.
Students get the opportunity to see how country communities work, and I think for the students themselves they find it a very all-encompassing experience. They get to do a lot of different things that they might not be able to do in the city.
OT student Melinda Alley and her partner are currently working on a community project aimed at sprucing up waiting rooms in the Port Pirie Hospital. John Pirie High students will decorate the rooms with their artwork.
That up in the patient lounges create a more uplifting environment, and every few weeks, approximately about every 3 months at this stage, that'll be rotated through with new students' artwork.
This is a great program and this makes a difference to a lot of people's lives.
Port Pirie, we found it's really the city of friendly people for us.
Rachel Nell, Southern Cross News.
Well, with just over a week to go until SA heads to the polls, we're continuing our coverage of the election campaign. Tonight, Amelia Simpson unpacks each of the major players' stance on local government and what they'll change in the council chambers if elected.
Rate capping, cost shifting and reforms, all topics that are on the table for the region's councils after March 17. The member for Stewart says the Libs are holding fast to their rate capping stance.
If a local council wants to apply for a rate rise in excess of CPI, that application would be assessed by the Essential Services Commission of South Australia.
It's a move the Libs believe will help residents' living costs. They're hoping to follow in the footsteps of New South Wales, which has had rate capping in place since the 70s.
Rate capping had actually been very beneficial and had achieved what it was meant to do without penalising councils or, most importantly, their ratepayers.
Yet the Local Government Association and the opposing parties strongly disagree, with concerns it'll increase red tape.
They don't stop councils from increasing rates, they just set by how much you can. So quite frankly, it doesn't work. And what we'll be doing is partnering with councils, whether it's through grants or loans, having a conversation with them.
Both the Libs and SA Best agree the state government has shed its cost loads onto local councils and ratepayers.
I'm uncomfortable with the way over the last 16 years the current state Labor government has applied more and more obligations onto councils and really that's got to stop.
The Treasurer today denying the cost-shifting claims. He says the state government's commitment to a struggling Whyalla last year proves it wrong. If it gains the balance of power in just over a week, SA Best is promising reform, a thorough review of the Local Government Act and strengthening the codes of conduct for elected members.
We want to stop that. Our plan is actually looking at the accountability and the transparency, bringing in the checks and balances to local government, reforming the sector, stopping the cost shifting.
We want local decisions made locally. You don't want someone on North Terrace telling you what you should and shouldn't be doing.
Amelia Simpson, Southern Cross News.
After the break, how the region marked International Women's Day. Details next. Whyalla locals have gathered to mark International Women's Day, celebrating female empowerment and gender equality. While attitudes towards women have improved, the group says there's a long way to go to achieve equality.
It might be 2018, but if the last 12 months have shown anything, achieving gender equality is still a work in progress. The expose of Harvey Weinstein has seen the rise of the Me Too and Time's Up movements. While a Women Today marked International Women's Day by taking a local stand.
Encouraging women to speak out where there is inequality in social work, sporting, community.
The group gathered for breakfast this morning to talk about how to improve the situation for regional women.
It just flowed out. It has been challenging, but I've had some great mentors in my life.
She says men have a role to play, noting it was a male boss who gave her the encouragement to break the barriers.
He embraced me, he taught me about empowerment, that I was very smart, that the world was at my feet.
Whyalla is home to many female leaders. It's one of the few regional councils with a female mayor, while it's produced a number of winners of the SA Businesswoman of the Year award. Despite this, Lynn Brewer says there's still a lot of work to do.
But it still is difficult. You still have to be twice as tough, twice as good as the males to be able to survive in there.
John Hunt, Southern Cross News.
Jared Paul has been named Broken Hill Cricket's A-grade Player of the Year. The all-rounder may have only scored 158 runs with the bat, but his 15 wickets with the ball and 9 catches in the field saw him take out the honour. It's the 7th time the Central veteran has won the Dennis Watt medal. North's Tobias Hack also had a good season, taking out the most runs scored gong with 401 and best batting average with 50. Well, a cast of Irish dancing world champions will give Port Augusta a taste of Ireland tonight. The show is set to bring the Celtic heart and soul to the local stage as the act tours the region.
This cast will bring more to the stage than just an Irish jig.
It tells about the journey of the Irish people, and through a bit of the history told through music and dance. So, they should be sure to, have a bit of a laugh and a bit of a cry even.
After their debut regional show in Port Lincoln last night, Port Augusta audiences will be treated to tunes, taps and tradition. A taste of Ireland showcasing some of the highest levels of dancing talent from Australian soil.
Something that's really important about our show is we're one of the very few companies that actually gives opportunities to young Australian dancers.
With national and world champions in the mix.
You know, a lot of us and the other girls have all, and guys have, you know, toured internationally or have competed in the North American Nationals or the World Championship.
The cast completing 10 regional shows for its St Patrick's Day tour before an Australia-wide tour.
And the support you got from the local community was fantastic. So to be able to kind of get that and then bring kind of your own production back there to start is really exciting, because you do get to go and meet people, you go get photos, and it's a very intimate kind of a feel.
Amelia Simpson, Southern Cross News.
Sure to be a great show. Time now for fishing tips.
Welcome another week around the Gulf fishing tips from Port Pirie. Yellowfin whiting just about everywhere at the moment. They tell me they're bumping into the line and tangling themselves up. You won't have to even hook them. So try along the beaches right from Marina Island right through to Barrows Beach. You should find yourself a good run. And just remember, they're always the last to leave, those fish, so you do have to hang around or be there very first when they come in. Blue swimmer crabs are still plentiful, not big in size, but we have got some nice crabs. We've also seen some snapper out at the creek areas, which are doing quite well for some of the smaller boat owners, and the larger ones, if you go around the Illusion area, anywhere out in that deep gutter, you'll find yourself some big fish.
G'day and welcome to this week's fishing tips from Port Augusta, Jewel North. Well, it's nearly the end of the summer, but the weather's beautiful at the moment. Lots and lots of crabs, just about every chuck your nets in you're getting crabs. Good snapper down around the powerhouse and the east side snapper ground still, and I'd try around the tire reef as well. Plenty of garfish along the shacks area. At night, if you get a really glass calm night, get out there and go dabbing. And the first lot of squid are just starting to show up now, ready for Easter.
There's been a few nice sized snapper coming in from the boiler tanks on Marricks early in the morning. Tip is to get there cracking first light. There's been some good fish around the 6 to 8 kilo mark, and there's been lots of nice pan-sized fish along with them as well. Also throughout the day, if you can get past the annoying shitties, there's some really nice whiting coming off the same drop as well, so get into those. Out over the fairway banks, there's been a few smaller snapper coming from that location, and also towards Ward Spit. The Point Lowly Rip's been hit and miss with some snapper. There has been some good fish, but most of them been coming in late in the afternoon. And over towards Cowlard's Landing, there's been some nice table size, pan-sized snapper coming in there, so get amongst them as well. Crabs absolutely everywhere, guys, so capitalise on those, and land-based silver whiting from the foreshore.
G'day and welcome to Fishing Tips in Port Lincoln. Locally in the bay, the squid have been a little bit patchy. They're really good size at the moment, but not around in great numbers. The crabs are still going well at the moment, really good size crabs. So the crabs have been caught in Proper Bay, around in front of the Port Lincoln Town foreshore. Moving over to Coffin Bay, there's been some nice salmon trout and a few trevally around the Brothers. At night time, there's been a few gummies caught in through the channel. Moving out wide of Coffin Bay, there's been a few tuna around the hummocks and also Rocky Island, but they've been pretty patchy lately. Well, that's all we've got for this week. We'll see you again with more fishing tips next week.
Stay with us after the break. Amy will have all the weather, and Amy, will warm weather hang around for the Spencer Gulf the long weekend?
It will indeed, Fraser. However, an autumn change is on the way around the Spencer Gulf, and I'll have all the details next. Welcome back. The warm temperatures continued in Port Augusta today, 35 the top there, fine, and 33 in Whyalla, while Port Lincoln remained slightly cooler with a top of 30. Meanwhile, temperatures hovered in the low to mid 30s in all other centres. Checking the satellite, and a trough will bring showers and thunderstorms in the southeast. However, it's staying dry elsewhere with clearer skies over the west of the state. If you're planning to spend some time on the waters tomorrow, there will be southeasterly winds up to 20 knots, seas will reach 1.5 metres, and the sun will rise at 7:12. Taking a look at tomorrow's conditions, and the warm temperatures will stick around for a little longer. Port Augusta will reach 36, as will Woodner and Corn, 35 in Port Perry, while temperatures will hover in the low to mid 30s for all other districts. Looking towards the weekend, and a cooler change is on the way early next week in Port Lincoln with a top of 22 on Monday. Cleve can also expect sunny days over the weekend before the change. Woodner will stay slightly warmer with temperatures in the mid 30s before 28 on Monday. further up the Gulf, and the temperatures will creep towards the mid-30s in Whyalla and Port Augusta before temperatures drop to the high 20s next week. Kadina can also expect 27 after a warm weekend. Warmer days ahead in Port Pirie and Broken Hill, with temperatures staying in the 30s, while Clare will reach 25 on Monday. So Fraser, it will be a sunny and warm long weekend in the Spencer Gulf before a cool autumn change arrives early next week.
Just in time to enjoy the sunshine. Thank you, Amy. And that's Southern Cross News for this Thursday. Thanks for your company. Good night.